So this is what you're going to need this week for your projects. You're going to want, your sketchbook or some type of paper. I recommend getting a sketchbook, and you can get them fairly cheap. I have some different ones, and I actually have some new ones I bought for this school year. So when I run out of paper, I've got some more. But you can get ones like this that are, mixed media paper. So then you can use it for a bunch of different things. This works well. It's not as good as watercolor paper, but it's better than using copy paper or notebook paper. Okay? So mixed media is kind of the key. That means you can use different types of media, which is just what we use in the art world, the word that we use for pencil, ink, paint. Those are different media. Okay? All right, so something like this would be beneficial to have. So I'm going to sit my supplies to the side that I'm not using right this second. So I'm going to put those things to the side. And then I'm going to open up and find a page. So we are doing Zentangle hair. Okay, so that's the project that we're doing this week. Okay. Now, in your assignment on Canvas, okay, there are two options that you have to do this project. Okay. The first one is you can get a magazine and you can cut out a face and glue that onto your paper. Okay. I realized I am out of glue, and so I was actually going to do a demo of each option, and then I realized today that I was out of glue, and of course I don't have time to go to the store during the day. So if you're doing option one of the two options, the only step that you would do different than what I'm about to do is you would find a face in a magazine, or use if you have a photo of yourself that you want to use, you can do that too. And you would take scissors and you would cut that face out. You don't want the hair and everything. You just want the face. Okay. You could also include, if it's like a magazine, it's like a full person, with like clothes and stuff, you can cut their outfit and their face out, but you want to leave the hair off. Okay. Because the project we're doing is called Zentangle hair. And so we're going to do some crazy fun hair with the Zentangles. So if you're choosing to do the more collage approach, you would cut out that face, you would glue it onto your paper, and then you would follow the steps that I do after I draw the face. Okay? So if you're going to do the collage, you can do that now, or you can just watch what I do, and then I'll let you know when you're going to follow along. Okay. All right. If you're not doing the collage and you're just going to follow what I do, the first step is you're going to draw a face on your paper. Okay. So you can do like a silhouette. You can do an actual forward facing face. You can do a detailed face if you want to. I'm going to do a real simple face. Okay, so we're going to start in pencil, because when we're kind of figuring out where we're laying stuff out, we want to be careful. And if we make a mistake, we can erase it. All right. And remember, Miss Capel does not do like people. That is not Miss Capel's area of expertise. I get amazed by artists that can like draw people and make it look like a photograph. Like, that just amazes me, but that's not my gifting. So keep that in mind. Be patient with Miss Capel, because people is not my thing. Okay, so I'm not doing like a super detailed face. I'm just kind of doing some features so you can recognize that it's a face, hopefully. More of that kind of abstract approach. Okay. So with that, when I get the face, where I want it, then I'll go over it in my pen or my Sharpie or something like that. That's going to be my next step. Okay, so now I'm only gonna do part of this because the rest of it's gonna have hair. I'm really only gonna do this like silhouette section. All right, and then the next thing that we are gonna do is we're gonna go in here and we're gonna add our crazy hair, our Zentangle hair. All right, so what you want to do with this is you want to start, like we said, we start in pencil. We always start in pencil so we can fix our mistakes, and then we'll go over it in ink. So what you want to do is you want to have fun with this. You can do all kinds of crazy, shapes coming off, and those shapes are what we're going to do our Zentangles in. Okay, so you can kind of come off of this. Now, if you want to make it look still like Zentangle, but maybe looks realistic, you can do that as well. So if you're doing like a self-portrait and you want the style of the hair to be similar to, your style of hair, you could do that. So if you wanted to do, like more straight looking Zentangle hair or curly or even braids, I've seen some really cool stuff where people have done like braids or different style haircuts and stuff. That's fun to do as well. But I'm going to do like some really crazy Zentangle hair. Okay, so I'm just going to have fun with this. And then you connect it back to your face that you have there, okay? Whether you chose to do a collage from a magazine or you drew your own face, okay? So you're just gonna kind of sketch in those sections. And you wanna leave them open because you're gonna put your Zentangles inside of these sections, okay? All right, when you're happy with your little crazies and tangle sections, okay, you like how you have it laid out. And I don't like how I have this part laid out, so I'm going to fix that. And that's why we do things in pencil. Okay, so make sure you erase any lines you don't want to use, okay? So like there, I just fixed that, and I don't want to use that, so I'm going to erase that. But then you'll go over this in ink. Okay, so our next step is we'll cover our pencil lines that we just made in ink. Okay, so you can use your Sharpie for this. I'm going to use a smaller pen so that the face is a different, line weight than the outline of my Zentangle sections. Okay, so I'm just switching to, it's still a thicker point, but it's not as, it's not as heavy as my Sharpie. All right, so once I have traced all of my lines in ink, I'm going to erase my pencil lines to clean it up, to have it ready for me to start putting in my Zentangle patterns, okay? So that's the next step I'm gonna do. Now, keep in mind if you have, if you're using a different type of ink or even a different type of paper than I'm using, it may take it a little while to dry. And if you go and start erasing right away, it'll smudge and it'll smear that ink. So you want to make sure your ink's dry. One of the easy ways to do that is, just to kind of like touch it in some places and see if you pick up ink on your finger. If you do, then just wait a little bit and then you can start erasing, okay? So I'm going to start with the lines I did first. That way I know like they're dry by now, okay? But that's just something to be mindful of. I've made that mistake. Even today, I still make that mistake sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, and I smeared ink all over the place when I went to erase it. All right, and then when I'm done with that, I'm just gonna shake my paper off. Get rid of all of those little fuzzies from the eraser. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I am going to take one of my pens and I'm going to start adding Zentangles. And so just a way to think of what Zentangles are is they are basically patterns. And so if you've looked at your lesson for this week, we're refreshing our memory on elements of art and principles of design. And the fun thing about this project is we pull in several of those components to create this. So we're looking at contrast, we're looking at pattern, we're looking at value, we're looking at all these different things. We're using balance in these. So there's all of these components that work together. But Zentangles are just these patterns that you see here. And you can find tons of those. Like there's PDFs where people have just filled up a sheet with different Zentangle patterns if you need to get some inspiration. But it's fun to do. You can do it while you're like watching TV or something and just kind of fill in those patterns as you go. So I'm going to pick, let's see here, pick the right pen I want to use. All right. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start adding a pattern into one of my sections, okay? And you can make these patterns up. A lot of the time, that's what I do. Sometimes if I get stuck and I'm looking for some inspiration, I'll look online for some other options. But the wonderful thing about Zentangles is it's basically, just relaxing and you just kind of make them up as you go.